Hello, everybody. The doors will still be open, so if we get some latecomers, that's fine. My name is Holly Jacobson. I'm with the Waverly Police Department. Tonight is brought to you by the Friends of the Public Library, the Kiwanis, and the Exchange Club here in Waverly. We're all partnered together to bring Officer Gomez here. I'm here as an investigator for the police department, but I'm also here as a parent. I know a lot of faces out there. I've got 2 in middle school and 1 in high school. So I have followed Officer Gomez for, I think, 3 or 4 years already. But he's been out there a lot longer than that. He's been a deputy for 18 years, and he's been a school resource officer for 15 of those 18 years. If you don't follow Officer Gomez on Facebook or all the social medias, you will after tonight. He already spoke twice today at the middle school. He spoke to 5th and 6th grade for 35 minutes, and then 45 minutes to the 7th and 8th grade. Those presentations, I was blown away with the amount of information that you packed into that amount of time, and then the kids' attention span. It's first thing in the morning, coming back after spring break, and hopefully some of you have heard about it from your kids, but it was a really good reaction from the kids. We had kids coming up to Officer Bucknell, the school resource, or the DARE officer, coming up afterwards, sharing information, things that he talked about being wrong, and then they're coming up saying, I know so-and-so that does this, and I've heard so-and-so that this is involved. So that's exactly what we want. We want that information flowing. So without further ado, here is Officer Gomez.
All right, I'm Officer Gomez. Thanks for having me, and thanks for coming. This is a great showing. So I like to start my talks off with the latest and greatest drug alcohol information, and I am currently a police officer in Idaho. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I was assisting on a drunk driving call, and we're way up in the mountains where information's hard to get. But as we were checking the drunk driver, we were trying to see what he had been consuming to get him drunk or, under the influence. And what we found is he was drinking brake fluid. And so we looked up at the ingredients and like, what in here is causing him to drive like this? And we couldn't find it. So finally I just asked him, I was like, hey, why are you drinking brake fluid? He's like, well, alcohol's too expensive. I'm like, brake fluid can't be any cheaper. So as I started talking with him, I'm like, well, how long have you been doing this? He goes, oh, a couple years now. I'm like, are you addicted? He goes, no, I can stop anytime I want. We're going to talk about some heavy topics, so I got to start it off a little bit light. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself here. So I have a disclaimer. I have yet to have any adults leave my class crying, but it could happen. I don't think we have the barf bags like we normally do, but you'll be fine. Okay, so I started my career off as an engineer. I'm a semiconductor engineer. Then at the age of 36, I saw an ad in the paper for police. So I said, honey, are you ready to be broke? I'm going to become a cop. She wasn't quite ready, but I did at the age of 36. I worked for Meridian Police Department, which is right next to Boise Police Department in Idaho. It's a big department with 125 sworn officers. Then 7 years ago, I moved up into the mountains where we have 12 deputies for 2,000 square miles. So basically, you're almost a lone deputy up there. If I need help, hey, send me Bob at the grocery store. Tell him to bring his shotgun. Now, I'm kind of unique in that I work for 2 departments at once. So we're so rural that we have a city that has a city police department. It includes the chief and me. So at night, depending on what time they're calling and where they're calling me to, I am Officer Gomez and Deputy Gomez. This is actually my 2 patrol cars. So depending on who's paying, I jump in a different patrol car with a different gun and a different vest, arrest the same people. Okay, so my SRO experience. I've been an SRO for 15 years. I started off at Lewis and Clark Middle School, which is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, 1,200 students. Then I went to a giant high school, which is Mountain View High School, 2,300 students. And then when I moved up in the mountains, this is my second school of 300 students, K through 12. So I know the students, I know their dogs, I know where they live, I know everything about them, more than I want to. And now I'm so rural that I have 5 armed teachers at my school because they're going to be my only backup if anything happens. Actually, if I need other law enforcement to come help me, the easiest way for them to get somebody to me real quick is to life flight somebody from the main city, which doesn't happen often. That's why I have the armed teachers. Plus, I got Bob at the store backing me up. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about how I got to know what I know about social media. When I went to Lewis and Clark as the SRO, so I did 3 years in patrol, then I got asked to be a full-time SRO at the middle school. When I got there, what I realized is that a lot of the problems at the middle school were coming from social media, whether it was bullying, drugs, fights that were going to happen. All the drama was happening on social media first. Now, my computer skills were awesome. I was an engineer. My social media skills, not so much. I had an outdated MySpace page, and I never used it anyways. So I had pretty much zero social media. Well, I needed to educate myself in social media to the level of the 6th graders so I knew what was happening. Well, in order to do that, I made a fake account. So I made a fake account of a 12, 13-year-old boy. I picked an East Coast middle school kid with a motorcycle helmet on that you could not identify. And, you know, I hate school, I hate homework, I hate everything, and I was a teenager just like that. I friended 10 of the most popular kids at my own school. They all accepted me within about 2 hours. Not one of them asked me who I was. I had this cool story I made up. I made little maps of, you know, what I was going to say if somebody asked me. They never asked me. And so then, once I had the 10 popular kids, which was super strange that it happened so quick, all I did was like what they were having, shared what they shared, and spelled cool with a K, and pretty soon I was just one of them. Kids started friending me. So I only friended those initial 10. I never had to friend another kid. After that, they started friending me to the tune of 500 kids in 3 months friended my fake account, just from resharing what the popular kids were doing. Once I had those 500 kids, I knew what acronyms they were using. I knew who was bringing drugs. I knew what kind of drugs. I knew who was dating who. I could stop fights before they happened because I knew they were coming. I became one of the best people at finding runaway kids because I had this social media resource that nobody had and nobody was using. But I also did a little math. Whenever my department or the Boise Police Department right next door, which is much bigger than mine was, when we would arrest a violent sex predator, I would type their names into my fake account. And I always came up with friends in common, which meant that those violent sex predators were already in my middle school. And I still to this day do it. And still to this day, I have tons of adults, some of them who I'm arresting for violent sex crimes, are already in my middle school, already in the elementary school as friends of the kids that I have there, which is crazy. And I talk to the parents like, hey, parents, this is what's happening. Well, they're not going to go out with them or anything. You don't know that. So I decided I needed to teach the kids about social media. And I started going into classrooms and teaching them social media, and they were not listening to an adult. They're like, dude, you're a grown-up. We're not going to believe you. So in order to shock and awe them, most police officers who have a fake account, I'm not the only one, we keep those accounts super secret, like top-level secret. Don't say nothing. Don't show nobody nothing. Well, I did the opposite. I started going to classrooms. Hey, raise your hand if you have social media. And as they'd raise their hands, I'd say, take your hands down. I already know who has social media because I'm your friend with my fake account. And, of course, the kids are like, Gomez, you're creeping on me. And they all promise they're going to delete me. And I say, hey, get your phones out. Delete me now. And so they'd get their phones out. They'd look at me. They'd look at their phone. Wait a second here. Which one of my 3,000 friends are you? I'm not saying. Delete everybody you don't know, and you'll have deleted me. And so the kids promise they're going to go to Starbucks after, and they're going to do hunting parties, and they're going to find a police officer. Now, no kid ever found a police officer account. They would go home. Some of them definitely didn't care so much about the predators. They definitely didn't want Gomez following them. So some of them would delete their accounts entirely and just add people they knew. Some of them would whittle down their friends to just people they knew, and some of the kids didn't care. They're like, I don't post anything crazy. I don't care if you follow me. But the education started happening. Well, I decided about a year later, I said, let me test my kids. So I made a second account. I made an account of a 12, 13-year-old girl. I made it super clean and painfully obvious how old she was. It was her birthday like every 3 weeks. Yay, I'm 12, 13 years old. I started friending the kids again. Well, this time was much more difficult. Not only were the kids not accepting my friend request, but they were reporting me to the social media company. So I got banned from adding friends for 7 days, then 14 days, and 21 days. And each time I got banned, I did the little happy dance like, oh, nice, some of my kids are paying attention. In about 3 months, I got about 30 kids at my school who accepted my friend request, which was way better than the year before. So, okay, they're listening to me, and then they threatened to shut down my account if I did it again. So, all right, let's take a break. Well, when I took a break, I decided, let me try something different. Up till then, I had only accepted friends from my own school. Well, I decided to open it up to friends of friends. Let's see what happens. Well, right away, I got friends from other schools who were friends with those 30 kids that were my friends from my school. But I also got 20, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old men who friended my fake 13-year-old kid. Now, she's not anybody's soccer team. She's not anybody's church. She's not anybody's anything. What were these guys about? And I will tell you that a majority of the guys, the adult men who friended my 12, 13-year-old girl, were what we call a ghost follower. They would follow my account, and they'd never say anything. They'd never private message me. They'd never like it, nothing, just a ghost. Still weird, but okay, that didn't bother me none. Week number 2, I get contacted by a 26-year-old man. He says, hey. I said, hey, back. And he has this big old long paragraph. He's like, hey, look, I'm a 26-year-old Marine sniper stationed in Afghanistan. I spend my days up on rooftops looking over my platoon of guys. And he says, it's super boring here, but in order to stay awake and alert, I talk to people through my satellite phone on social media, and you look like a fun person to talk to. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk. So we start talking. He tells me more about his job in Afghanistan, that he's from my area. He goes, I graduated at the local high school. At about the 15-minute mark, he says, hey, send me nudes. I'm like, rude. Of course, all my police buddies are like, send it. I'm like, no, I'm not going to send anything. That would be disturbing the peace, clearly. So I told him, nope, I'm 12, 13, whatever. I told him, I'm not going to send it to you. That's weird. So we ended the conversation. The next day, he contacted me again. He's like, hey, do you really live in the Boise area? Yep. I go to Lewis and Clark Middle School. I'm 12, 13 years old. I live by the school. And he says, look, I come back on leave starting next week for 2 weeks. He says, because you've been such a great friend, here we've known each other 12 hours now. He goes, I'd really like to take you out on a nice thank you date. And he sent me a nice picture of the dinner menu, the nice car he's going to pick me up in, the nice jacket he's going to wear. So I called my boss because this had never happened before. I'm like, hey, Sarge, this is what I have going on. And this guy's inviting my 12, 13-year-old girl on a date. And he's like, well, what's on your calendar? Nothing. We're going on a date. So I told him, hey, look, we're going to meet you. And in that time, a week before date night, he did what we call the grooming process. So it starts super small. Hey, when we meet, can I give you a hug? When we meet, can I give you a kiss on the cheek? When we meet, will you wear this? And he just started easing into things. By the time date night had come, I'd probably told him, 50 times I was 12 years old. And by the time date night come, he got very graphically sexual on the things that he wanted to do with a 12-year-old girl. So date night came, and all the bets were in. It's like, hey, is this guy going to show up? Because fantasy is one thing, and reality is another. And even my police buddies, like, we haven't seen this before, so maybe, maybe not. My undercover guys at the park said, hey, it's half hour early. Your guy is here already. I'm like, all right. So I rolled up in my patrol car. I'm Officer Gomez. You're under arrest for felony enticing children over the internet. When I put him in my car, I read him his Miranda rights. I started asking him some questions like, hey, where's your car? He's like, I don't have a car. How'd you get here from your house? I don't have a house. Where's your phone? I don't have a phone. It turned out this was a homeless guy. Never been in the military. And so what I found when I did a search warrant on his information is that he'd been getting a voucher to go from the homeless shelter to the public library every day, use their free computers, and friend about 100 middle school girls every day. Not even high school girls, they were too old. Out of 100 middle school girls that he would friend, because he had all kinds of friends in common already, more than 90% of girls were accepting his friend request. In a 3-month period, which is all the judge allowed me to have for my search warrant, I had more than 100 middle school girls send him naked photos of themselves. More than 100, all middle school girls. He wasn't even friending high school girls. They were too old. 4 girls had gone on dates with him. Now, we were only able to identify about 20 of those 100 because we had to cut their heads off with Photoshop, send it to all our local schools to identify them. But these girls came from all kinds of backgrounds nobody had ever talked to before about this. And so the mayor and the chief of police called me into a special meeting because this hit the news, and they said, hey, is this a one-off thing that you caught, or is it a problem? And so myself and another SRO, in the summertime, SROs normally just go to patrol or to detectives to help them clear up cases. We were assigned predator patrol that summer. So we parked 12 and 13-year-old boys and girls on every social media we could find. Let's see what happens. In a 10-week period, we ended up arresting 14 men who came to Meridian, Idaho, where I was at, thinking they were going to meet up with kids for sex. The first guy was the homeless guy. And what I found is every single person that had said, hey, back to him, he copy and pasted the exact same couple paragraphs that he sent me. The second guy that we met was 50-year-old Boise State lacrosse coach. Came to meet this girl thinking he was going to have, and this guy was like 50-year-old, no neck, missing link kind of looking dude. Every single person we arrested, all their friends and family, had no idea they were creepers. No idea. And almost every person we arrested, when we did search warrants, we got real victims back. Right? So as I'm going through their search warrant information, now I'm calling other jurisdictions. I was like, hey, look, I think there's a sex crime been happening in your jurisdiction. You need to go talk to this kid. So those 14 guys took me about 6 years of going to courts. I actually ended up going to Palm Springs for court. I ended up going to Dallas, Texas for court. Highly resource intensive. Fortunately, right about that time, internet crimes against children started. And so they kind of took over, and I still work with them every once in a while. But they have a whole agency just to deal with the predators. And they do a great job, but they don't have the resources for it. That's how many, we could arrest 15 guys every single day. And to this day, I still arrest people. You know, that was 2012-13 that happened. I still get a couple times a year where my kids will tell me, hey, Gomez, here's an extra creeper coming. Because I teach my kids at the school, hey, if you get a creeper, block, delete, and move on with your life. That's easy. They make a second account and come after you and a third account and come after you, now come talk to me. And so they know when to come and talk to me. The first one's on them. After that, we start getting me involved. By the time they get somebody who's serious, now I get involved with my fake accounts, and I still arrest probably 3 or 4 a year that come after my kids. All right, here's your first test. These are drug terms that you might see kids texting each other. Now, just because kids start texting any of these does not make them drug fiends or anything. It's just one thing. Kids, since the dawn of time, have liked to be cool by talking drugs and sex with their friends on social media and on texting. But if you see some of these, kind of raise an eyebrow and do a little bit of, parental investigation. Now, everybody knows cops don't like tests, so there's the answers here. My favorite one always is Haffy. Haffy has already been smoked cigarette. So the kids will go to the gas stations and go in the ashtray and pick them out and put them in their bra and underwear to smoke later. Or they'll go to an apartment complex where somebody flicks them off their balcony and they'll pick them up and smoke them later. Like cigarettes weren't gross enough on their own. These are ABC cigarettes. Here's some emojis. These are all drug emojis. Again, just because you see one of these things, it's time to get your detective skills going. Is my kid doing something, or are they just talking to drugs to be cool? And even if they're talking drugs to be cool, it's time to talk to them about what cool is, right? Because if they're saying that they're going to go do some cocaine with their buddies, we got to get some different buddies. All right, so nude photos of kids. We call it CSAM these days, child sexual abuse material, where we used to call it child pornography. Now the appropriate term is CSAM. So you'll hear me say CSAM throughout this presentation. Naked pictures of kids are ridiculously popular right now. I'm taking reports from 6 and 7-year-olds who are sending out their naked photos. But we're getting lots of kids in middle school and high school that are sending out naked photos. Even today after my talk, there were some kids who came up and said, Gomez, I know somebody who sent out nudes. I know somebody who sent out nudes. And I'm talking to 5th through 8th graders, right? It is happening way more than you know. Now, I'm going to tell you the Idaho laws on naked photos, just so that you know. I know a lot of states have their own laws, but ours are pretty simple since I helped make them. If you are under the age of 18 and you send out a nude photo, the first time's a misdemeanor, the second time's a felony. If you're in possession of a nude photo of a minor, the first time's a misdemeanor, second time's a felony. Unless you're more than 3 years older than the person you have a naked photo of, then it's a felony right away. If you threaten somebody to send out their naked photo, whether you have it or not, it's a felony right away. If you send out somebody's AI photo, it's a felony right away. Now, that part's important. An AI photo, basically, there's a lot of programs these days on phones where you can take a picture of your buddy or your female classmate, and it'll body scan them, and it'll make them into a nude photo, guessing their proportions, their skin tone, everything, and it takes seconds. And so what we're running into is kids think this is funny and a joke. They take a picture of their buddy, send it out on their Snapchat groups, and then that thing just gets propagated. Pretty soon there's memes going around the school, and people are getting arrested. Now, when I get called from around the country from SROs, Gomez, we're finding this poor 11-year-old girl, somebody made an AI naked photo, and now the whole school has her naked photo, and so does the school next door. What do we do? And I tell the SROs, please arrest them if the laws allow. In Idaho, the laws allow me to arrest. I tell them to arrest because I want this to be a big deal. I feel bad for the kid. We're going to make an example out of them, and I don't care if we put them in diversion or drop the charges later, but we need to make a showing because that is a huge deal. That can never come back once those naked pictures start going. And the kids are using these programs. They take naked pictures of teachers. They'll do AI videos of teachers having sex with other teachers and send it out just because they think it's funny, and we haven't talked to kids enough about what the proper use of AI is and how serious that is. But there are kids getting arrested around the country for doing such things. Now, I've arrested an 8th grade boy for multiple times collecting naked photos of classmates. I arrested a 10th grade girl for multiple times sending out her naked photo to different people. And the reason that we made those laws and the reason I enforce them is because when kids send out their naked photos, it brings danger to our whole community, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about how that works. So I talked about the laws. How do we get naked photos of kids? Now, unfortunately, when parents give kids a cell phone at 5 and 6, they are starting to be worldwide groomed to be worth their body parts the minute you give them a cell phone. The minute they get on Roblox, the minute they start watching TV, sex sells. But now you get these kids that have been on, when they hit puberty, they've been on Roblox for 5 or 6 years for 5 to 10 hours a day. They've been groomed to be desensitized and be worth their body parts. So when somebody asks them, hey, send me nudes, it's no big deal to them. They've seen a bunch of other people do it on social media. They're going to get acceptance. They might get some money. They might get some perks on Roblox or V-Bucks for Fortnite, and it's no big deal for them to send it. And they've seen so many other people doing it that it's nothing. To us, it's like, that's crazy. I can't believe kids are doing it. They are doing it. But now, let's talk about what if the kids have a little bit of good family values in them and they don't have so much cell phone use. So I had a 7th grade girl in my office at the school. She was really upset because we had our Boogie Bash, which is our chaperone dance for middle schoolers, and no boys would ask her to the dance. She was a cute girl, very churchy. All the boys at my school knew she was churchy and didn't want to take her to the dance. She was super sad because girls want to be asked to the dance like all their friends. I don't think I helped her much, but I did talk to her for a bit. About 6 months later, I was at a different school. And a 14-year-old girl, after my talk, came up to me and said, Gomez, I sent out a nude photo to a high school boy who's sharing it with everybody, and I'm scared. I don't know what to do. So I went and I actually ended up arresting that boy at the high school. But on his phone, he had 18 naked pictures of middle school girls. One was my little church girl. So I went to her house, and her parents couldn't have been more awesome about being parents, but she had the whole conversation on her phone. But in looking at it, right, boys at my school wanted nothing to do with her. Enter a high school boy, doesn't know her reputation, tells her she's cute, wants to take her to the movies and have popcorn, they can wear the football jerseys together. To a 12, 13, 14-year-old girl, this is her first relationship. How important is that? How much does she think she's in love, right? She's singing Frozen songs and thinking that's her. She's picking out wedding venues. That's what little girls do. Unfortunately, the predators use this against them. Now, I saw in the conversation where that high school boy asked this girl for nudes, and she said all the right things. She said, it's against my church, it's against my family, it's against everything I believe. I cannot send it to you. And so he said the one thing to her that I see lots of boys say to young girls to get them to either have sex or send nudes. He said, hey, I thought you were more mature than that. Look me up in a couple years and I would love to take you out on a date. So her relationship just came crashing down. She unfortunately took about 30 seconds, took off her clothes, sent some nude pictures. Those nude pictures that she sent, we had to deal with for the whole rest of her high school career, because she followed me from the middle school to the high school. About once or twice a year, somebody would send her a copy of her naked photos and ask for more or ask for money. So I ended up arresting 3 different boys throughout her high school career that went over the top sextortioning her, or that shared her naked photos with other people. But for the rest of her life, she has to worry about that, right? And that's what I told the kids today. If you send out your naked photo, it's like putting a tattoo on your forehead. There's no way to get it back, right? Trying to unscramble an egg. You can't do it. So we have to educate kids on the reasons why we don't want them to send out nude photos. And a lot of parents think your parental authority is enough. It's not, right? Society's out there teaching your kids to be worth their body parts. Now for boys, the situation's much worse with the naked photos. Right now, the biggest scam happening on social media is against teenage boys. So teenage boy, 12 to 30, gets contacted by a 15-year-old hottie girl. How many boys in that age range are going to say stranger danger? 0. They're going to say, hey, how you doing? And so the teenage boys at either middle school or high school, once this girl starts talking to them, she starts a relationship with them. After they've known each other forever, 15 minutes, she lays it on thick to this boy. Hey, boy, you're super cute. I can't believe I met you. You're awesome. And then she says, I like you so much, I'm going to send you a special picture, and I want you to send it back to me. And so she sends a topless picture of herself. How many teenage boys do you think are going to send that back? Every one of them. At that point, their brain ceases to work. Okay? When they get a booby picture of a girl they think they're talking to, it is 100 times more exciting to them than anything that's happened in their life so far. So then when the girl sends a full nude picture, they send one back. Within about 15 minutes of that, what's going to happen is they're going to get a Snapchat message from somebody they don't know or from that same person. Here's a copy of your nude photo. Here's a 15-second video clip of your Instagram friends list. You have 2 hours to come up with $500 in iTunes cards, or we're going to share your picture with everybody and ruin your life. And then they start a timer. They don't let the kid think. You have an hour and 50 before your mom gets to see your penis. You have an hour and 40 before we send it to your whole church. You have an hour and 30 before everybody at school is going to be laughing at you tomorrow. And most kids in that age range do not have $500 to buy iTunes cards with. So what they do is they encourage them to steal a credit card from parent, from neighbor, from siblings, from anybody they can, and pay the $500. Now the thing is, if they pay the $500, the next week they're going to ask them for 500 more, and 500 more, and 500 more, and it never ends. I was just telling some people in Ohio, I talked to a parent after one of these classes. He says, I think my kid's been sextortion for about 3 years. And she was right. It was $60,000 or $70,000 that he'd given in 3 years. Luckily, we were able to fix that for him. But that's how this goes. Now, unfortunately, in the last couple years, I think we've lost 22 teenage boys to suicide because of this scam. And I've talked to the parents, and the kids are dead within hours of their first contact with these sextortion guys. Now, I tell the kids I can find anybody on social media. I get IP addresses, I get whatever I need. But the problem is I can't go arrest them because a lot of these are South Africa, Philippines. These are professional organizations who download a series of professional model who looks like she's 15, and they use her identity to scam kids all around the world. And I tell parents, every teenage boy is going to be hit by this scam. Some are going to pass one time, some are going to fail one time. A lot of them aren't ever going to tell you, but if you don't have this conversation, they're definitely not going to tell you. And what we found is the kids who are actually taking their lives are the ones who have the most to lose. They're usually the ones who have good grades, they're part of their church groups, they're part of the football team, they're part of whatever. They have a lot to lose and a lot to be embarrassed about. So they would rather kill themselves than to go through with this. So this is super serious. This is one of the things I talk to the kids about, but it's very well worth having the conversation about so that we don't lose any more kids. So naked pictures are so prevalent, they're becoming their own currency. So let's say a middle school girl gets hooked on vaping. The nicotine amount in vapes is crazy. When she runs out of money for either nicotine or THC or whatever it is, she knows from seeing TikTok, from seeing Snapchat, from seeing Instagram, that she can send naked pictures and get items. She can get drugs, she can get cell phones, she can get whatever she wants. Now, because this is mainstream now, a lot of movies are talking about OnlyFans. This is adult women selling their bodies for parts, so to young girls, it's nothing. And you don't even have to sell your own pictures for stuff. You can trade. So let's say I have a 16-year-old boy who's collected naked pictures of female classmates. When he's out of money and needs something, he can talk to a dealer and say, hey, look, I need an ounce of marijuana. What's this worth to you? I have a picture of cheerleader number 2 drunk and topless at a party. It's always worth something. And so they get traded around as a currency. Now, how big a problem is this? By my own research, I would say by 11th grade, about 80% of kids have sent out nudes. By 8th grade, it's about 40 to 50%. Right? And if you guys would have seen the amount of kids that came up after our talks today to talk about things like this, it's happening in middle school, it's happening in elementary school. In elementary school, the kids are trading their naked photos for Robux or V-Bucks, which is Roblox or Fortnite, or different, Minecraft widgets that you can get on servers and get. We've given out phones to our youth before we've come up with all the safety measures that go along with it. All right, so a little bit on sex trafficking. So a lot of people think, hey, you kidnap a third world person, you hide them in the basement, and that's sex trafficking. Now sex trafficking is starting in everybody's home. So on TikTok in particular, this starts really easily. Somebody will ask your child for pictures of their feet. Hey, I'll give you $20 for pictures of your feet. And your kid's like, well, that's easy. I'll take a picture of my feet right now and send it. They do. The predator says, okay, I've got $20 for you. What do you have? Cash King, you have Cash App, you have PayPal, you have Apple Pay. What do you have? And so the kid, whether they have it or not, they're going to get it. And they don't really want their parents to know they're selling pictures of their feet because that's weird, so they usually keep it secret. Once they have a digital currency account, the predator will say, here's your $20. And then they'll say, if you send it to me again, I'll give you another 20, which they do. Then they'll say, okay, I got 2 pictures of feet. You send me pictures of your fingernails, I'll give you 20 more. So now they've made $60. Easy. Now they offer them the rest of the prices. Hey, I've got enough of those pictures. If you ever need money for anything, here's what I pay. And once kids, particularly some of the younger girls that make money this way by selling pictures of themselves, once they make that money, it's hard for them to go to McDonald's and get $20 an hour. Right? Because they know they can take 5 to 10 topless photos of themselves. They can sell it on Snapchat. They can sell it on TikTok. They can sell it on Instagram. They can sell it on OnlyFans. And then after a couple months, they can sell those same pictures again. They make another round with them. And this happens all the time. I'm super rural. I had a 13-year-old girl's parents who called me and said, Gomez, my daughter has $8,000 in her Venmo account. And we can't figure it out. I'm like, I already know what it is. And it's exactly what it was. The pornography videos at the end, I get parents who call me and say, Gomez, my 18-year-old daughter just turned 18 last week. She's at the Boise airport. She's going to go to Florida or California, and she's going to make a pornography video. Can you stop her? I'm like, I'll go down and have a talk with her. But she's usually pretty set by then. And they do, and they go and they make these pornographic videos. And then what happens is those people that are their handlers there, they get them hooked on drugs. So the first one, they paid $3,000 to $8,000. The second one is like 1,000 plus drugs. After they get hooked on heroin or meth or trank or whatever they get hooked on, then the girl is jonesing so much for her drugs that she'll make a pornographic video for $100 of heroin. These handlers will use that girl until she's too big a pain or she's all worn out, and then they will either overdose her and put her at the gas station, or they'll ransom her back to her parents. Hey, look, we got your daughter in, Los Angeles, California. She's all hooked on heroin. For $5,000, we'll buy her a bus ticket back home. And most parents will pay that, unfortunately. Not unfortunately that to pay it, but it's an unfortunate situation, right? If that was my daughter, I would absolutely pay it. But I've also picked up girls at the gas station who have been getting what we call hot shots. They get a shot of heroin in each arm, and they get dropped off at the gas station. Horrible, right? It's horrible, and this is happening. Let's talk about some of the social media apps, especially some of the most prevalent ones. The very most popular one is going to be Snapchat. Every kid wants Snapchat starting in 4th grade, right? By 5th grade, you already have a percentage of kids that have Snapchat, And you're supposed to be 13 for any social media. So I don't know why fifth graders have it, because moms and dads don't want to be the only one with their kid that doesn't have it, right? It's peer pressure for adults. I don't want my kid to miss out. That's the thing I hear the most. Now, Snapchat's the most popular because it automatically hides things. So when you send a conversation to somebody and they read it, it deletes. Then they send you a conversation, you read it, it also deletes. Now, does it really delete? Well, kind of. The bad guys know that they can take a picture of a picture and it doesn't delete. Snapchat, in order to be predator friendly, actually deletes the messages, the peer-to-peer messages. So what that means is when I go to investigate a crime, whether it's a rape, whether it's a sextortion event, and I subpoena Snapchat with a judge's order, Snapchat says, hey, okay, here's the IP address, here's the phone number, here's the email address, here's the GPS location. We can't give you the peer-to-peer conversations because we don't have them. We delete those as a matter of policy. Which means if the victim didn't keep their own Snapchat screenshots of the crime, I have zero. The predators know this, so they always recommend kids go to Snapchat, which is why I joke with parents all the time. It's like, hey, 5 out of 5 sex predators recommend parents give their kids Snapchat. Unfortunately, 4 out of 5 parents get peer pressured into letting kids have Snapchat because they don't want them to feel left out. They're going to be left out of this if they're left out of stuff. So limited search warrant information recommended by most predators. Live mapping. Live mapping is what makes Snapchat one of the most dangerous programs out there. Unfortunately, Instagram just added live mapping a couple months ago. So I put Instagram at number 2 most dangerous app because of the live mapping. And let me tell you why. Let's say your kids make a mistake and send out a nude. What happens, that nude picture is going to get shared. Pretty soon a creeper is going to get that nude photo. Almost always. They're going to add your child on Snapchat, and it has a snap map, which is a live mapping within 10 feet of where you are. Once that predator has your kid on Snapchat, they know what school they go to. They know what their class schedule is. They know where they sleep at night. They know what bathroom they use. They know what friends' houses they go to. They know what sports they play. They can figure out their car very quickly. And so then I end up arresting a twice registered sex offender at my middle school female volleyball game because he's got the girl on SnapMap and wants to see how she plays volleyball. We arrested a guy who came from Pennsylvania to Idaho, and he was looking with binoculars inside one of our football players' rooms because he had a naked picture of him. He knew where he lived because of his SnapMap. Now, less nefarious about the SnapMap. Last year, we had a teenage girl at my school that's super rural, was at a party, and she did the OK sign. Well, somebody in the big town said, that's a white supremacist. Look, they got white supremacist people. And so then I had kids coming to my town thinking they were going to beat up this girl because she's a white supremacist when she just did this, right? And they don't know that you have to drive half an hour either way to get in and out of my town, so it didn't go very well for them. It's like, hey, feel free to put that on Snapchat. But that is how things go and how dangerous this is. Snapchat offers an artificial intelligence friend to everybody who has it. So you get Snapchat, you already have an AI buddy. The kids can name them, dress them, make them look however they want, and they're using this AI buddy for their homework helper, their sex partner, their boyfriend, girlfriend, their therapist, their psychologist, their everything. In fact, I have kids who are dating their artificial intelligence friend on Snapchat. This is a crazy thing. We're unleashing this super powerful tool on kids, and we have no idea what they're using it for. Millions of kids are using AI, and they're using it for all kinds of things. So this is a 24-hour timeline on Snapchat. This is where most drugs are sold. I would say Snapchat's probably the #1 drug-selling app. They put prices on here, and the 24-hour timeline, you have to take a live picture. If you use a picture from your photo gallery, it'll tell you from your camera roll. So you have to take a live picture in the app itself. That's how kids know it's live, and they know it's only, it's been 24 hours since you put this live picture up there. In 24 hours, it disappears. Snapchat also has a secret picture vault. It's called My Eyes Only. It's a pin-coded vault that if you don't have the pin code, you are not going to get into it. I cannot get into it with a subpoena either. It's another thing that Snapchat protects predators. If I have a missing kid or I have a kid that's being sextortion, and they're not giving me the PIN code, I'm not going to get in there with a PIN code. But as a parent, you should try and get in there your best you can, because I've had parents save other kids and save their own kids, right? I teach them how to get this. They go home and check the secret vault, and they say, hey, I see my kid's doing marijuana at school. Or I see my kid's friend is suicidal, and they're sending some really suicidal messages, and I'm really worried about it, right? You can save somebody's kid by getting into, but it's not easy if your kid doesn't want to give it to you. And so what normally happens is after a parent knows how to do this, you go home, hey, let me see your phone. What's your PIN code for your vault? Every kid is going to say, I forgot it, Mom. I set it up like 3 years ago. I don't know what it is. They do know what it is, but that's what they're going to tell you. Now you're going to do, as any good parent would do, snatch that phone. It's like, you can have your phone back when you give me the PIN code. They're going to go in their room, and they're going to log into their Chromebooks that are issued by the school. They're going to get on Snapchat, which they all can, and they're going to delete the photos that they don't want you to see. So then like 3 hours later, this, Mom, guess what? I found my PIN code. It was in my binder. And you're going to look at it, oh, rainbows and puppy dogs. I can't believe I didn't trust you. You're the best kid ever. No, they deleted everything you didn't want to see. Again, Snapchat does this to help predators. TikTok. This is like the granddaddy of sexual grooming. So TikTok used to be called Musical.ly. You basically lip sync to songs or dance to songs, send it to your friends. You can do duets, you can challenge them, you can do all kinds of neat things. On its own, it wouldn't be a bad app. I mean, I'm totally fine with kids dancing and singing. The problem is when TikTok bought them, which is ByteDance out of China, they added millions of adults to this program. Now, the very first challenge on TikTok was what you see here. It's just a screenshot. It's not the video, but it's called the plank challenge. So you have the camera on the floor looking at you just like it is on these, and you're in push-up position. When the music starts, you go to plank position, push-up position. You can clap in between and twist and whatever. You send it to your friends, and you get like 10 or 15 likes, and then your friends send it to somebody. That was a challenge, the plank challenge. What young girls discovered very quickly is that if they wore a loose-fitting shirt, that camera's looking right down their shirt. You jump from 50 likes to 50,000 likes by wearing a loose-fitting shirt. If you wear a frilly bra, a tattoo, or a piercing, now you're up in the 500,000 likes with one video. That's 500,000 mostly adult men who are telling a very obviously underage girl that they want more. Like, hey, what's your Snapchat? What's your Instagram? Where can I pay you for the rest of the video? Right? They should be telling them they need Jesus, but they're not. Right? So we are grooming kids to be worth their body parts. So the next challenge after this was the tattoo challenge. Biggest tattoo, smallest tattoo, most private tattoo, most expensive tattoo. And every couple of months there's another sexualized challenge, which kids know if they want to get paid on TikTok or they want to have lots of followers, put out more skin. Now the boys, on the other hand, have to do something violent, right? They have to hit their friend on the head with a shovel. The last couple challenges that have been done for boys, you guys have probably seen it here. We had the Chromebook challenge where kids would jam a pencil into the USB ports on their Chromebooks and make them flame up. We had the Steal a Kia challenge. And now, recently, just this school year, we've had the public pee all over the floor challenge, right? So the kids are going and they're videotaping themselves urinating all over the floors in the bathrooms at the school, in the colleges, at the grocery store. And they get viral fame from this, right? It's gross, but that is what's happening. OnlyFans. OnlyFans is basically pay-per-view Instagram. So if you have Instagram, so imagine it's all pay-per-view. The subscription service, if you want to be subscribed to somebody's channel, which is almost all naked videos, or sex pictures, monthly subscriber fee is between $4 and $45 per month. You can also buy per piecemeal, so they'll have like 10 pictures blurred out, and you can buy the 10 pictures for like $2. Now, the problem with this is they advertise on TikTok and Snapchat where all the kids are watching. So the kids in the middle school and the high school, what they're seeing is these 20 to 40-year-old women that are making tens of thousands of dollars a month on OnlyFans, right? They're showing you they're buying new cars, and they're showing what they're getting paid. And some of them are getting paid that much. Now, as easy as it looks, it's not that easy. Right? OnlyFans will start you off making a lot of money, but after you make a lot of money for like a week, then it takes some work. You have to market, you have to spend some money, you have to buy some fans. You have to put a lot of work into it to make the money. Unfortunately, once a kid starts and they get paid that initial balloon payment, your naked pictures are out there and you're not getting them back forever, right? You'll be explaining to your grandkids, Mom, Grandma, how come you got naked pictures of you, right? Awkward. Instagram. A lot of adults know how to use Instagram, but here's what a lot of adults don't know. Almost every kid has 5 accounts on Instagram. So Instagram is kind of unique in that you can have 5 accounts without logging out. So if you go up to the top corner, you click on their avatar, you'll see the 4 other accounts. The main account, which is their grandma and grandpa account, is the one they're going to have when they come home, and the one you check, and the one you're friends with them with, right? Parents are like, oh, I'm friends with my kids on Instagram, and they never post anything bad. It's all rainbows and puppy dogs. Yeah, that's their main account. That's not their other accounts. So they have their spam accounts, but what Instagram really does is it does a lot of bullying. So at the school, you get a kid with a fake Gmail address. They start a fake account. They'll take a picture of a female classmate, and they'll put it on their fake account, and they'll say smash or pass. Smash means I would like to have sex with that person. Pass means no, thank you, I won't have sex with that person. And they take pictures of every female, including teachers. So then what happens is I get an angry parent that calls me at the school and says, hey, Gomez, my 11-year-old daughter is on this fake Instagram page, and there's 547 people that say they want to have sex with her. And some of these are obvious adults. Take it down. I cannot take it down, right? That's free speech. There's nothing illegal about them saying that. But as a parent, they're super upset, as I would be. It takes me about 3 weeks to take down an Instagram page. I have to submit it just like everybody else does. And then 3 weeks later, they'll put it through their community standards page, and sometimes they'll take it down after 3 weeks. Until then, they're getting shared everywhere. Now, as soon as I get one taken down, it takes the kids 30 seconds to make another one and put it right back up. So some of the other ones on here, because it's hard to see, you got Rape My Rack. We're not talking about deers. You have Rape My Shoes, which is about the only funny one. Confessional pages where people tell secrets about the school, and that's usually, hey, such and such students is having sex with such and such student, or such and such teachers having such and sex with such and such student. Now there's no checks or balances. They can say whatever they want. And the problem is that much of this stuff is completely made up for drama. The other problem is that some of it is not made up. So when I get these confessional pages and somebody says that a teacher's having sex with a kid, I've got to go investigate. And most of the time it's not true. Some of the time it is. Area code fights or zip code fights or city fights, right? It could be, Waverly Fight Club, where you get one school pitted against another school, and they fight just to put it on here and get viral videos. The rape list, which is the one at the bottom. This one hurts boys. Most of them hurt girls a lot, but this one hurts the boys mostly. A girl gets mad at a boy. She makes a fake Instagram account, and she calls it the rape list. And she says, hey, this high school boy raped a girl at a college party last week. And then all these other girls are going to jump on and say, yep, I know a boy. This is his name. He goes to this school. He raped my best friend. He raped this person. Pretty soon you got 300 boy names on there that have raped somebody. Again, most of them are not true, but some of them are true. But what happens later on is I get a call from a recruiter, a college recruiter. Hey, Gomez, you're a star football player. We want to give him a $200,000 scholarship to come to our college and play football. But we did a social media search, and we can see that it says he raped somebody in 2020, in 2023. We cannot give him a scholarship until that's cleared up, right? So now I got to take weeks to try and, number one, do an investigation. Number two, try and clear his name off of Instagram and anywhere else it might be, because these things are super popular. But again, we have to talk to our parents and our kids about all of these things that are available. Roblox. Roblox is very popular between 5 and 12-year-olds. It's very blocky, and inside the game, there's probably 1,000 user-made games, which means just people just make custom worlds, and people like to go and play. The kids like to go and play with them. Now, I will tell you that Roblox, popular between 5 and 12-year-olds, probably has more predators per kid than any other program. And the reason for that, if you were a fisherman, where were you going to go fishing? Where the fish are. By letting your kids play Roblox, you are putting a nice little bow wrap on them, putting them in a nice little box, and here comes the predators. And Roblox has done a really poor job of protecting kids in any way, shape, or form, so they're being sued by many states. Up till a couple months ago, their recommended age on the app that you download is 4+. About a month or two ago, it changed to 13+. So now their recommended age on their own app is above what most of the kids who are using it have. But because a lot of parents have gotten used to this, this has been their babysitter, right? This is the go-to babysitter. Now, I don't judge too heavily. When I was raising kids back in my day, we used Barney, right? We would put Barney. You could go to get some milk at the grocery store and come back. You could vacuum. You could do something. And then you rewind. I still hate Barney. It's like, hey. But nowadays it's Roblox. And the difference between Roblox and Barney is Barney, there's no adults communicating with your kid. Roblox, if you sit your 5-year-old on the couch with Roblox on an iPad or a phone, you could go to the Bahamas and come back and they're still going to be there playing Roblox. Roblox and Fortnite are the two applications that we get 911 calls on. I took away my kids' Roblox and now they're breaking windows. I took away my kids' Fortnite and now they're kicking, screaming, setting things on fire. That is how bad the addiction is on these games. Now, Roblox also very grooming for kids on sex and drugs. So the minute they sign on, they're going to have characters that they're interacting with that are misspelled drug names, misspelled pornography names. And there's all kinds of loopholes. Way back, it was probably 6 or 7 years ago, my wife and I were watching the news at night, and a mom came on and said, look, I was watching my 7-year-old play Roblox, and she was gang raped at a park. And I'm like, I don't believe that. That's craziness. Well, the next day, Roblox came out, maybe it was 2 days later, and said, hey, we fixed a loophole that allowed characters to get gang raped at the park. Right? But this is happening. About the only safety thing you can do on Roblox is turn off the chat. Unfortunately, those user-made games, inside the games themselves, even if you turn off the chat, they have drawing walls. The drawing walls are going to be full of penises and swastikas. But they also have spinning blocks. They have spinning letters that you can spell things out on. And the predators, you cannot send pictures on Roblox. So they're always going to try and port them to either CapCut or Snapchat. Right? CapCut is a video making app that you can privately chat with people. A lot of parents don't know that. But it is something that you can chat with. And a lot of kids have been victim to CapCut. So I say no to Roblox, even though it's an awesome program if we didn't have all the predators on there. We do have all the predators on there, so it's something we've got to deal with. Telegram. This is not a new program, but it has a feature that I want you to know about. So if I were to open up my Telegram right now, I can click on open up groups near me, and it shows me all the groups that have started within 5 miles of this location. And since it's a geo-based program, I can buy drugs and I can buy sex almost anywhere. Now, it's very scammy. Half of these things are scams. So you try and buy sex or drugs, they're going to want you to pay with crypto. As soon as you play with crypto, your money's gone. Now, those are kind of fun calls to get in dispatch. They're like, yeah, I paid $3,000 for some weed, and they stole it from me. We're like, say it louder, because we got a couple deputies coming in. But just so you know, so this one is 5 miles around you. Yik Yak is the 500 people with the application closest to you. So colleges have Yik Yak, and they use it for a lot of bullying. Hey, check out the chick in the red sweater by the, the library building or whatever. So it's a very bullying type program. Now, other honorable mentions on programs that predators use, the Bible app. If you have the Bible app, there's a forum on there. Any program that has a forum, there's going to be predators on there talking to kids. And they already have a connection to your kid. Hey, let's talk about the Bible, because that's why they put the forum, so you can have groups and study the Bible. Let's talk about, and then they start grooming them. Then we have Fitbit. When you get your kid a Fitbit app, it has a forum so that you can have pictures, you can have running groups, you can have motivational groups. Unfortunately, the predators are going to be there as well. Any of the payment apps, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, you can send somebody 2 cents and that opens up a chat. Right? So now, how many parents are going to check all the Cash Apps on their kids' phones? We never check that. Anything where you can talk to somebody. I know a lot of you don't know this, but Spotify added straight direct messaging now to other users. Not even a hidden direct message. With iTunes, it's a hidden direct message. You can direct message people on iTunes, but with Spotify now it's just direct messages you can send back and forth that a lot of people do not know about because they haven't advertised it. Drugs. So let's talk about drugs for a minute. With drugs and kids, there's two addictions you need to know about. Number one is the chemical addiction, which is nicotine, THC, opioids, whatever it is, that's the chemical addiction. Then there's the social addiction, which means that when they start doing drugs or pills or anything, all their friends change. So when I call a parent and say, hey, I just caught your kid smoking marijuana or smoking a vape, a lot of parents think their parental authority is going to stop that addiction. Not unless you get rid of all their friends. And that's a big ask of teenagers if you don't know. Because if you don't get rid of all their friends and start with new ones, you're not going to get rid of the addiction. And the next thing is most addictions in kids, you're going to have to do some inpatient therapy. It's going to be gum. It's going to be patches. It's going to be a full-blown war to get rid of that addiction, which is worth fighting, right? I will fight that one every single time. But a lot of parents just think, oh, I'm just going to, I'll beat my kid within an inch of their life if they smoke again. That's not going to work. They're going to do it over and over and over again. So let's talk about vapes first. They're super small. They're made specifically odorless and smokeless now, so it's hard to tell when people are vaping. Back in 2012 when I confiscated vapes, you could see somebody at the front of the traffic line who was vaping because it looked like there's a train in front of me on this traffic. We have a bunch of hidden devices, right? So now they make them in Sharpie markers. They make them on the strings on your hoodie. This bottom vape, we call it a switch. It's kind of new. One side of that has nicotine, one side has THC. So you can pull it out, turn it, and put it back in, and you get a different high. Secret stashes. There's lots of clothing that hides drugs on purpose. Water bottles with fake bottoms, backpacks with fake zippers. All kinds of ways for kids to hide drugs. And these manufacturers know they're selling to them, so they do that. Vapes at school. So a lot of schools have vape detectors in bathrooms. What we were running into is that kids were going into the same stall, so 4 at a time, and when a teacher goes in to check during break, whoever has the vape puts it in their bra or their underwear. So then we made a policy at our school. If more than one person in a stall, you're getting in-school suspension for 3 days. Well, then the kids, okay, we're not going to do that, but they still go in the bathroom, a big bunch of them, and then when the vape detector goes off, we have to pick which kid is got the vape, and if you pick the wrong one, you're going to have Mama Bear come after you. How dare you accuse my kid of vaping? And so we got the little wands, which are awesome, right? The little Garrett wands. You can beep, 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 and it always beeps at their bra or beeps at their underwear. All of a sudden, every teenage girl has an underwire bra. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. But then you call parents like, hey, we think your kid has a vape in their bra or a vape in their underwear. And the parents, well, I know they vape, but it's better than smoking. No, it's not better than smoking. Or even worse, well, if my kid doesn't vape, I can't stand them. It's like, let me introduce you to some parenting classes, right? Because some kids really, they get hooked so much on vaping that it is really their calming thing that they do. So metal detectors, policies, these little swab tech things we have. Probation gave me a whole stack of swab techs. I can tell the difference between THC vapes and nicotine vapes by just a little swabby that doesn't cost hardly any money at all. I break it, I just put it in the oil, and it changes a different color depending on what's in it. I can tell if there's meth in there. I can tell if it's THC. I can tell if it's nicotine. What I can't tell is if it's coffee or not. Okay, so this is a popular nicotine vape. It's called a bar. It has a lot more smoking than what the regular vapes do. But what I want to draw your attention to is the 5% up there. That's how much nicotine it has in it. 5% is a marketing trick because kids see it and it's like, man, this is 5% nicotine. That means it's 95% nicotine free. But 5% nicotine is the most nicotine they can have in vapes. That's 50 milligrams of nicotine. That's 10 times what's in a cigarette. A cigarette, you get about 4 or 5 milligrams in your lungs. So these vapes are like smoking 10 cigarettes at once. Now, this 5%, if that's at 6.5% or 7%, it would be a deadly dose of nicotine. Right? Nicotine used to be used as a pesticide in agriculture to kill bugs. And now our kids are smoking it as much as they possibly can. Now, these 50 milligram vapes, what we're starting to find now is that kids are going into seizure from them because it speeds up their hearts. And if they haven't eaten or slept all night, the first hit in the morning, they go down and they have a like 10, 15-second seizure. They profusely sweat, and they come out kind of disoriented. And then parents will spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to get their heart figured out why they're having seizures. Whereas if they would have come talk to me, it's because they're vaping. Pouches. So the Zyn pouches, they're nicotine pouches that you put in your lip, and that's what gets the people through class. The kids are so addicted to the nicotine, they cannot go 90-minute class without having some nicotine. It's the same one that people use to get them on airplanes too, because it'll get them from one place to another without actually having to smoke. Unfortunately, the coffee ones look exactly the same. And I can't tell between caffeine and nicotine. Now, the latest one, and I had the slide in here, but I lost it somewhere. I'm going to put it again. Deckies is what you're going to hear now. Deckies is a caffeine pouch that you put in your lip. They've decided to pay a whole bunch of college professional semi-pro athletes to promote this brand. So you're going to see a whole lot of professionals promoting these Deckies caffeine. One of the pouches of this caffeine, and there you can see the size there on the nicotine ones. There it is in their hand. One of those has half a Red Bull worth of caffeine. And they're not substituting one for the other. They're adding one to the other, which I'm not too happy about the kids doing large amounts of caffeine or energy drinks, right? I see these fourth graders that are drinking these energy drinks that weigh, 10% of what they do. And they'll have 2 of them. But these coffee ones have half a Red Bull of caffeine in them. Okay, if you're going to quit vaping, it's going to take some serious work. I would estimate by my count, because I talk to all the kids that vape, I talk to them afterwards, I talk to them years later, 1 in 100 kids can stop vaping. It's that hard to quit. And so when parents say, Gomez, I really want my kid to quit vaping, okay, you're going to put them in like a heroin rehab center is how it's going to work, where they're there for 30 days, they get checked every day, and it's worth it. Because kids that vape, it's going to last their whole life. And now I get recruiters like workplaces. They'll call me in the summer and say, Gomez, I need like 6 kids that are going to come work for me and make some good money in the forestry service and whatever. I don't want any kids to vape because they're useless to me. Right? You see adults with their vapes like a binky. They cannot go more than 15, 20 minutes without smoking. So inpatient rehab is one way to get them to quit vaping. The other one, we have a Youth Challenge Academy, and I know several states have it. I don't know if Iowa has it. It's run by the Navy, and it's actually a 6-month boot camp. You have to be between 16 and 18, or going to turn 16 while you're there. And you go in Idaho, it's way up in like the woods where you run away, you're going to be in grizzly, sleeping with the grizzlies at night. But you stay there for 6 months, you learn to march. It does a lot of good for the kids for all kinds of reasons. Now, when they get out of here, I always tell parents, do not let them come back to your house. They're going to be 17, almost 18. Send them to aunt and uncle. Send them to, the Job Corps. Send them to college, whatever. Don't let them come back to the same house that got them sick in the first place. And parents are offended, and it's like, I don't care. I carry a taser. I say what I want. But I am going to help the kids the best way I can. Again, 1 in 100 kids are able to quit this. Marijuana is almost the same thing as THC, and a lot of the vapes that I get now are marijuana vapes. Now, what marijuana has that none of the other drugs have is they have a mob that works on their behalf. Like on my Facebook page, I have 400,000 followers. If I put anything negative about marijuana, the mob comes after me. Like I say, hey, 5-year-olds should not drive after smoking a bowl of marijuana. They come out, you're going to kill people with that information. You're not a doctor. We're going to come protest you. Okay. I carry a taser. Come at me. Marijuana is legal in many states now, so it's also not helping kids. I tell parents that marijuana is the number 2 cause of kids' failure to launch. Right? When kids don't leave the house and become successful, marijuana is the number 2 cause of it. So everybody's like, well, what's the number one cause, Gomez? It's parents who allow marijuana, right? That's the number one cause. But kids that smoke marijuana all day and don't do anything, that's going to be a problem. Marketing, those are all marijuana vapes. It looks exactly like the Apple iPod Classics that they used to sell when they marketed to kids. They are absolutely marketing to kids, right? And they're Rooty Tooty Fresh and Fruity flavors, Sour Apple Blast, Pineapple Margarita. All those things are meant for kids, absolutely. Now, I've talked to a couple of gas stations around the country, and they say they make more on vapes than any other product they sell, right? They get them super cheap from China. They don't have to pay all the taxes on them like they do the cigarettes, because cigarettes are controlled. And they make more money on vapes than anything else. So when are they going to stop? Never. Concentrates. So marijuana in the 60s and 70s had about 3 to 7% THC. That's what gets you high. Through agricultural engineering these days, it's about 18% THC. So it's not the same as it was in the 50s and 60s. Now, on YouTube, on Reddit, on Discord, you can look up recipes on how to make concentrates, which means they boil it down and they make 80% THC, right? So that's what you see at the schools. You can see dab pens every once in a while, and that's probably 60% THC. The kids don't like the concentrated as much because, number one, it's really expensive. Number two, once you smoke some of the concentrates, it's hard to go back and enjoy a regular marijuana joint with your friends or a regular marijuana vape, right? Because you're used to 80% THC. It numbs you to some of the lower stuff. So I don't see it in kids a lot. I have gotten a couple dab pens, but it costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of effort. So you don't see that a lot. Other ones you're going to see possibly in the school or in the neighborhoods is going to be shatter or wax or edibles, right? Rice Krispie treats, if somebody's bringing in Rice Krispie treats that are homemade, be a little sus about that. It's like, hey, I need to see an ingredient list because those are pretty popular. Prescription pills. Xanax, Norco, Adderalls, and I always forget to put on MDMA here, which is ecstasy. Those are the pills that are the most popular in the schools. Now, in the schools, what they do is they crush them and huff them, or they crush them and put them in Gatorade. Because when you crush them, you get the whole high at once. Whereas if you just take a pill, it takes your body time to break it down, so it's a time-release formula. Whereas if you crush it, you get the whole high at once. Adderalls are super popular in colleges right now. So anything that's popular in college is going to be popular in high school. And so the high school kids will take these Adderalls. Well, the college kids are taking it to help them study for tests. Well, when I catch high school kids that are taking Adderalls, like, why are you taking Adderalls? And they all say, well, it helps me focus. I'm like, you got straight Fs. What are we focusing on? Really? You're killing me. Pills have accidental addictions, right? So we had a young lady, got in a car crash, had to have shoulder reconstruction surgery. They gave her gabapentin. When the doctor started weaning her off, she got really, really sick, so she started replacing it with street drugs. Luckily, one of her friends told us pretty quickly, and we were able to get her some more help and some different stuff to wean her off. But she ended up being valedictorian. It can happen to anybody you get. And not only do you get, some people get addicted to the high or the feeling, but some people's body just gets very sick. Same thing you see with meth. Some kids will do meth one time, and their body will get so sick wanting more meth that they'll do whatever it takes to get more meth. Same thing happens with the prescription pills. Now, opioids. OxyContin, fentanyl, hydrocodone, and morphine. Fentanyl is the one that's killing people. It's been killing people. Right here, we got M30s pictured. That's actually supposed to be a Norco pill, but when it's different colors like that, it's a fentanyl pill. It used to be one of the most popular dyes to use for fentanyl is the M30 Norco pill. Fortunately, Norco, knowing this is happening, ended that pill. So they don't have the dyes for the M30s anymore. So if you see an M30 pill, be very suspicious. But I want to share you guys a real story. The last person I arrested with a fentanyl pill, we're up in the woods. I arrested 4 25-year-olds at dispersed camping. When we were checking their car, they had a piece of balled up tinfoil in the front dash of their car. To cops, that's like Christmas present. It's like, hey, let's see what's in here. As I grabbed the tinfoil, the girl behind me in handcuffs said, hey, officer, just to let you know, that's a fentanyl pill in there. I'm like, okay, I put it back. I have some Tyrannosaurus Rex grabbers that are for old people, but I can grab it like that. But on the way to jail, I asked her, hey, what's going on with this fentanyl pill? And she said, well, we bought that a week ago. We open up the tinfoil, you heat it from underneath with a lighter, and they inhale the fumes. 4 of them had been using this for almost a week. That's how strong it was. If somebody were to lick it, ingest it, they would be dead. Right? They would be dead. And it had the M30 mark, we found out later. But that's how powerful those fentanyl pills are. We're having people die all around the United States from fentanyl. At our schools, I don't know if you guys had it here, but at every fire extinguisher, now we have some Narcans. Narcan's the little nasal thing that stops the overdose from happening. Now, I'll tell you from personal experience, with adults, if you give somebody Narcan, number one, you can't do it wrong. Even whether they need it or not, you give it to them, it's not going to hurt them. But if you give somebody Narcan, be ready for a rodeo because they violently come out of it. They usually get up, run about half a block, and go back down. So I haven't seen less than 3 Narcans administered on any person that we've had to deal with. But they violently come out of it. So be ready for a rodeo when that happens. Luckily, we've trained all our ambulances, everybody. Hold on, because when they come out, they're coming out. Alcohol is about the same as it's always been. Alcohol kills people today. Usually around graduation time, some local school loses some kids to drinking and driving, unfortunately. Now, the other new thing with alcohol that parents aren't used to is there's a lot of date rape drugs that people are using in alcohol. So what's popular is the colleges will have a party. They'll invite some high school girls, and they'll give them a solo cup of beer, and they'll drop a GHB pill or a roofie pill, and then rape them. And the reason I know this is because Monday morning at the school where I have good relationships with some of the high school kids, a girl will come up and say, Gomez, I think my girlfriend was raped at a college party this weekend. Well, why do you think that? Well, she was a virgin before we went, and she had sex with 4 people in one night. And so I'll call the girl and her family in. Number 1, she's going to be super embarrassed. Number 2, her parents are going to be super embarrassed. But I'll ask her, I'm like, hey, did you go to a party? And, begrudgingly, yes. Did you have alcohol? Yes. Did you have sex? No. Are you sore? Yes. Like, okay, you were raped at a party this weekend. I know who did it because usually who reports it to me tells me who had sex with them. It is very rare for the parents or the kid to want to press charges. And here's the reason why. If they press charges, they know that everybody will murder them on social media. The girl they're murdering, hey, you're such a slut and a whore. I can't believe that you're going to get these boys in trouble. You couldn't get enough sex. I saw you at the party. And the parents get it just as bad. It's like, what kind of a parent doesn't know where your 15-year-old daughter is on a weekend night? Probably sharing drugs with, so it's just a horrible stigma that comes with it. I think out of probably 15 reports, I've had 1 that's allowed me to press charges. Now, we lost that case because we didn't have very good evidence, but it scared everybody around us for a while. So I say, hey, let me press charges, please, just to send out the message. But that is happening way more than people know. It just doesn't get reported because of the stigma and the embarrassment of it, which is horrible. Other drugs. So Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, these are molecularly derivatives of marijuana. Now, as most states have allowed marijuana to be legal, we don't need those anymore, so you don't see them as much. Now, I will tell you, Idaho, where I'm from, is the last state that has 0 marijuana. We don't allow marijuana for any reason whatsoever. Unfortunately, every state around us allows it, so the kids can get it pretty easy. So CBD also kind of goes out the window when you allow legal marijuana because they would rather do legal marijuana. Even though you'll still see CBD, it's not as popular. Kratom. Kratom, for 15 years I've had Kratom. The kids don't use it a lot, but some of them do. It's like having a 50 shot of espresso. You can buy it at the gas station without any kind of ID. There's no regulations. There's no minimum age. We call it gas station heroin. But for the last 15 years, I mean, I've seen some kids that get a little addicted to it, but no overdoses, no, hey, I'm going to spend all my money all my life on Kratom. In the last year, we've had about 15 deaths in Idaho from Kratom. They actually have a new derivative which they call 7-OH, and it is killing people. I don't know what's changed in there or why, but it is actually killing people. There's the Kratom is a powder. It comes from a tree in Southeast Asia, and they can put it in drinks. They can put it in all kinds of things. Huffing. This guy up here is a huffer. They put silver paint or gold paint in a paper bag, and they huff it. And they usually do this at Walmart and then drive off. And the call I get is somebody's driving on the sidewalk. That's how bad it is. But by the time I get them pulled over and get them out of the car, it's cleared already. So I can rarely give them a DUI. It clears very quickly. And usually the best I can do is a reckless driving. But understand that, it's a crazy thing. Meth, this girl right here, that's meth face. Some of the ingredients in meth are Drano, red phosphorus, and lye. Those are all poisonous to your body. So when you ingest it, when you shoot it up, your body wants to get rid of it. And it always picks your face to expel the poison. And so when we pull them over, this is what they look like. We call it meth face. And I was like, hey, where's the meth? And then, are you saying that because of my face? Yeah. You're making fun of me because I have acne. No, I'm making fun of you because you have meth. Right? And then, hey, show me your arms if you're not doing meth. Oh, I don't have to show you anything. But that is meth face. That's what happens, and that's why it happens. Trank. Trank is a newer one. Trank is actually horse tranquilizer. You can get it at the ranch stores. It's horse tranquilizer. The official name for it is xylazine. I don't know how to spell xylazine. That's why I just put trank. But they inject it, and it causes them to bend over and just be a zombie for a couple hours. And then they come out of it, and they do it again. And you'll see streets and streets of these people in Los Angeles and in Baltimore and those that are doing trank, and that's their favorite drug because they can get it legally from the farm store. Ashwagandha. This is kind of weird. It's a health supplement for like 40-year-olds. But on TikTok, the kids will take a handful of ashwagandha and they'll video themselves. This is me before ashwagandha. This is me day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. By day 17, they look like zombies, like they've killed all their feelings and, any kind of social anything they have. They look like a zombie. Now, I've talked to doctors who say that they don't think ashwagandha does that. They've never tested anybody taking handfuls of ashwagandha, and they think it's just an internet fad that kids are doing, that it's a placebo effect because they see it on TikTok. But now I have ashwagandha vapes. I have ashwagandha drinks because people think it does something, but I don't really think it does anything. Galaxy Gas. This is sold at Walmart. It's for making whipped cream. Now, the kids are using this to inhale it. It's not a new thing. Old school version of this was Whippets, right? The little CO2 canisters that you could buy for BB guns. You just put a little valve on top, and then you talk like Donald Duck, and you basically just replaced all the oxygen in your brain with nitrous oxide. But now they've remarketed it, made it Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity, and most Walmarts are sold out for like the next 6 months. So Galaxy Gas is super popular, even though it's not new. LSD. On this quarter, there are 4 LSD stamps. They're $10 plus or minus a couple bucks for each tab. You put them under your tongue. It's blotter paper. It dissolves, and you hallucinate. Now, the kids at school, what they do is they put it on their tongue, and it's slow hitting, so it takes a few minutes. So then they put another one. The first one didn't do anything. By the time they put the third one, they're running down the hallway of the school naked. For whatever reason, LSD makes people run around naked. So PCP and LSD, naked people. And they're usually not the fun naked people. Right? They don't tell you that in police academies. Like, you're going to be wrestling non-fun naked people. So scams. All right, I could do an hour and a half just on scams. But the first one was the naked picture scam with the boys. With the girls, we call it the similar is the Lululemon scam. It could be Abercrombie Fringe scam. It could be American Eagle scam. But these people, they target girls who have 10,000 or more Instagram followers. They come across professionally and say, hey, look, I see that you have 10,000 followers. We really like your style, your look. I'm a recruiter for Abercrombie & Finch, and we're looking for ambassadors to pay and give free clothing to. You just represent our brand. And then they send them contracts with the Lululemon logo, with the Abercrombie logo. Hey, you'll get paid this much. You'll get this much clothing. It looks super professional. And they say, look, the last step of this is you have to meet us for an interview, an in-person interview, but not in person, a Zoom interview. Bring a bikini because we have a professional that needs to see how clothing fits so that we know what clothing to send you. And during that interview, they always talk the girl out of her top. It's like, hey, look, you don't have to, but if we see your breast shape, then we know what to send you that fits you better. and it all looks professional, so a lot of girls will take off their top. 2 weeks later, when they're expecting a box of free clothing, they get a sextortion demand. Hey, here's your topless photos. We're going to send it to everybody you know. Right? It's the same sextortion thing. I've had moms in the interview tell their daughters it's okay to take off their bikini top in front of 3 strangers because they're so jazzed. It's like, the cheerleader moms to extreme. Now they think, oh, my daughter's going to be an Instagram model for Abercrombie, so they tell them to take off their top. It's like, your daughter's not old enough to take off her top. Oh, but this is professional. No, stop. Here's some pepper spray. So some of the best practices. Number 1 is no Wi-Fi devices in bedrooms. And this goes for PlayStations. It goes for anything with Wi-Fi. Because if you allow those in the bedrooms, the kids are not going to get any sleep. No matter what monitoring you think you have on your phone, the kids can get around it. And they often do. Now, kids are going to tell you, Mom, my iPhone alarm is the only alarm in the whole world that I can wake up to. It's like, hey, I got a bucket of cold water that says otherwise. 2, cell phone checks. I always tell parents to do cell phone checks. Be diligent about cell phone checks. Do you know what to look for? You don't. So here's how you do it. You sit your kid in the chair in front of you, hold the phone, and let's talk about the next 30 minutes of notifications that come up. Hey, who's this person? Hey, what's this app? What's this message? If you don't sit your kid in front of you, they're going to go in their bedroom and put out the alert to all their friends, don't send me any messages, Mom has phone. And if you don't find anything, do it anyways, because I want you to show your kids that it's important to you that you know what's going on their phones. Right? So I always suggest cell phone checks. No private messaging random adults. I always ask parents, hey, how many random adults do you allow your kid to talk to? None. Like, they got 10,000 followers on Instagram. They're talking to some random adults. I promise you. But again, most of them have been raised in a world of social media, and it's no big deal for them to talk to random adults, which is not my favorite. Even on Roblox, it's like, well, they're all kids. It says so. No, they can be anybody they want, no matter what. Set a screen time and stick to it. This is a big one. So in my house, we set a 2-hour screen limit. Whenever we have foster kids, we have exchange students, we set a screen time of 2 hours for everybody, including ourselves. If I spend more than 2 hours on screen time in my house, I have wasted my life for that day. The easiest way to check for this is checking their battery from yesterday. On Android and on iPhone, you go into General, Settings, Battery. And it'll tell you what was used on that battery yesterday. You can see the apps. You can see how long they used it for. There are some apps that will stay on all the time, so you'll get hours that you shouldn't get. But it's also good for finding secret apps. Like, hey, this reading app, I know you weren't reading for 6 hours yesterday. What is it really? Right? 2 hours. Let them live their life. And if you do the 2-hour setting, then you can get some other people to do 2-hour setting and help it out. 200 friend limit. When I was at the middle school, what I found is that kids that had 200 friends or less on social media were rarely bullied. Number 1, they knew all their friends. Number 2, as you went above 200, you become anonymous and you say things that you wouldn't say in real life. Adults do this, right? You go into any news station and you think you're anonymous. Adults talk mad, like they're going to come back and beat you up and date your grandma and kill your dog and have it for dinner. And these are full-grown, educated adults, so kids are much worse. 200 friends, they don't need 10,000 Instagram friends. 200 friends or less on anything. That way, if they get bullied or something bad happens, I have a good chance of finding them. If they have 5,000 friends, they're going to get bullied today, tomorrow, the next day, and for the rest of their life. And then I get the parent, why won't you do something? It's like, well, delete some of their friends. Well, you're asking me to punish my kid for something that somebody else is doing. No, I'm asking you to protect your kid. And then I always ask, do you lock your car doors? They probably don't, but they say they do. Why? They shouldn't get broken into. Well, yeah, but protect your kids better than you protect your car. Couple other things. Family building. Let's say you've already given your kid phone stuff and you don't know how to take it back. Easy steps, small steps. Number 1, take back the dinner table. Right? Let's have a family dinner without social media, without cell phones. Now, back in my day when social media just started, Amazon actually sold these pepper shakers that if you turned them, they were Wi-Fi blockers, which was awesome. I think the FCC got on them for that, so they don't do that anymore. Take back the dinner table. The next thing you can do, I always tell parents, pick a sports team and be their biggest fans as a family. Get some swag, have phone-free Friday night. We're rooting for whatever, farm team, hockey, baseball, whatever it is, and have it be phone-free. And then once you get the hang of that, invite the neighbors over. Invite somebody else with kids. Hey, come over to our house on Friday night. We're rooting for whatever team. We have no cell phones, so we have a basket at the door. You can all put your cell phones in. And you start building a community, and that's the best you can do. If you can build a community of kids that don't have 24/7 cell phones, that's going to be awesome for your kid. That way you don't feel left out like your kid is the only one that doesn't have this stuff. Cell phones at school. At the school today, it was pretty good. I didn't see many cell phones at the middle school. Unfortunately, a lot of high schools think they're past this, but I tell kids or parents now and schools, you can either have cell phones at school or you can have education. You can't have both. And I ask you as an adult, when you get a notification on your phone, how long can you wait before you have to look at it? Not very long. Kids are the same way, right? And you say, oh, well, you had to have it in your backpack. But they get the buzz in their backpack, now they got to go to the bathroom and check it. They get the flash of light that they see that, hey, a message come in, now they have to get to check it. So bell to bell, no cell phones. And so a lot of parents now tell me, well, it's state law. State law is meaningless unless it's enforced at the school. And I've been to lots of schools where it's state law and they're not enforcing it, and you see kids are still phoning around. And I have a no cell phone policy in case you don't have a state law or in case your kid doesn't, but you can just go on my Facebook page and type in Officer Gomez cell phone policy and it'll bring this up. You just replace your school in the blanks there. All right. So we covered a few things. There's my information. There's how you can reach me. I have some YouTube videos of a bunch of stuff that you can share. I have this class as like a super compressed Zoom class that you can share it with people. This is an awesome showing, but I'm going to take some questions now. If anybody has some questions, and if you don't want to ask in front of everybody, it's all right. I'm going to stick around afterwards, but I'm sure some people have some questions. You're not just going to believe a cop, are you? Yes, sir. Do I sell this video? I do not sell this video. However, on my YouTube channel, you can have it for free and share it with people. The jokes aren't as cool, but it is on my YouTube that you can share, and there's some shorter versions of it as well. So just type in Deputy Gomez or Officer Gomez on YouTube. Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever been approached by Facebook, Instagram, whoever to help with protecting our kids from that? Like that they're taking action, Roblox and stuff, or is it just...
Okay, so have I ever been approached by some of these companies to help kids keep kids safe? No. In fact, when Facebook finds out I have fake accounts, they always delete them. Rude. They do not want me helping. I have been approached by attorney generals in Louisiana. I think Pennsylvania approached me to help them with their lawsuits against these companies. You know, I think I did have one. Maybe TikTok reached out to me for a little bit, but it wasn't anything they were serious about. But good question. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so the question is, can you watch on YouTube what I gave to the students today? You cannot. I don't have that one recorded because I don't like record kids anywhere, right? And I've tried to do it from them to me, but it's just not the same. We are talking about having me back. I know I went and talked to Waterloo today. So Waterloo's going to try and have me back because they tried to get me this time. I am going to start doing this full time starting at the end of May. So this is my last year as an SRO. Because I have so much demand for it, I'm going to travel the United States doing this. So hopefully I'll come back and be in the area, and I'll do as many schools as I can get to when I come into an area. Yes, ma'am.
How do you feel about posting kids on social media, whether it's through school and all of that
Okay, so how do I feel about posting kids on social media? I do not like it, especially with AI these days. Because AI, they can take a face picture of anybody and make videos and make sex pictures, and there's creepers everywhere. So I do not like the schools posting it. The other thing I do not like schools doing is some coaches will update kids using Instagram or Snapchat. That's a big no for me. There's some specific applications that they can use, the Remind app, the Band app, the school app, those kind of things. If you have any teachers or adults who are church people that use Instagram or Snapchat or anything like, you tell them Officer Gomez has a taser. Watch out. So hopefully that answers that. I am totally against that. Yes, ma'am.
What do you think is a good age for your student or your child to have a phone, and what is a good like beginner phone? Like I know flip phones I've heard are coming back. Like what would you recommend if you had a fourth grader today?
Okay, so my recommendation on phones, and I have 6 grandkids. So I have 3 grown adult kids. I have 6 grandkids who always complain, we wish we had a normal grandpa. But when they turned about 7 years old, we got them the Gizmo watches, right? And that's through Verizon, but they have bounce watches. They have a lot of the companies make these little safety watches. You input the numbers, you can GPS your kids. We've never had any problems with those. Neither have I had any parents say, hey, we have a problem with the safety watch. Those are good till the kid's about 11. Then the kids will start teasing them at school. It's like, hey, you got the nanny watch, or your mom doesn't trust you. Totally understand that. So about 11 or 12, they're going to want a different phone. You can either do a flip phone, but they also have the safety phones. The safety phones is Gab Wireless, Bark, Pinwheel, TrueMe, Light Phone. Those are all good phones to have. It costs a little bit more, but you have education and you have a company backing you up. Bark and Gab Wireless will actually call you in the middle of the night and say, hey, your kid is talking about suicide. Or they'll send you, hey, here's some pictures that we think your kid shouldn't be sending out. So you get some company help, and they're very restrictive and very good for that. Those phones are good till they're 17. At 17, if you want to start lightening up on stuff, let them have social media. But I would still argue that Snapchat, 18 plus. TikTok, 18 plus, because all there is on there is garbage. And I've met adults in my life who have no social media. Do I think they're missing out on nothing? No. I'm super, I live up in the woods where I have moose in my backyard. I went and saw the Amish in their buggies. I'd never seen that before. But then I started going around. You get these kids that are young with their little suspender things. It was awesome. They're out playing and working, and I don't think they're missing out on anything. Whereas when I walked into the middle school today, before school, when phones are allowed, I saw the herds of kids all around the phones, right? I mean, there was all 5th graders, 6th graders, whoever has a phone, they don't all have them, but you see the little herds of kids, little groups, they're all watching whatever they're watching. I don't think there's any bonus to that. And the longer somebody can go without a phone, even their entire life, they are not missing out on anything.
So if you're that family and you don't give your child a phone, how could you approach it? Having other kids and checking their phones at the door in that basket,
Yeah, and so I have lots of parents who say, hey, look, in our house, and you talk to the other parents, look, we have a basket at the door. We're not going to keep your kid from their phone. They're welcome to go check their phone outside our door anytime, right? And hopefully, most of those houses have so much fun stuff to do inside because they're used to not having phones. And I see some of those families, and they're just amazing versus trying to talk to somebody who's in their phone all the time. It's horrible. But the basket system works really good. That's why I mentioned it. And, same thing with, I recommend no overnight stays anymore, right? You don't let your kid go stay at somebody's house overnight. There's too many cameras that have little hidden Bluetooth cameras and people put in bathrooms. There's too many recording devices. There's too many unknowns with letting people spend the night. Let them go stay till 8 o'clock at night, then go pick them up. Too much stuff happens after dark, and you talk to any police department, and they're going to talk to you about, hey, somebody spent the night at somebody's house. Even family members is a tough thing. So I try and say no. Whereas I used to like kids to spend the night somewhere and kind of open their wings. Not anymore. There's too much shenanigans that go on. I'll take another one.
Sorry.
These are good questions.
When our kids are issued Chromebooks from schools, I mean, maybe I'm the only naive one to think they're being protected. What, as a parent, should I do? Or, like, for recently, I just learned that he can go in and delete all of his browsing history, which surprises me because I would think that would be an admin or above. But do you have, like, a checklist or ways, and maybe, I guess, to the organizers, this is next week's conversation, but how can I protect that? A school-issued device, and maybe you can't, and maybe it's too specific.
Okay, so the question is about Chromebooks and school-issued devices. We'll narrow that down to what do I think about them. Pooey. I do not like the one-to-one Chromebooks at all because, again, we've let kids have them before we have all the safeties in place. And I'm an administrator on our Chromebooks at our school. We have GoGuardian, which is one of the best programs there is for them. The kids can get around our securities every single day. The kids will go on to Google Docs and they'll use them as chat groups, right? So they can chat with them. They can get onto every YouTube video ever made just by grabbing the filtered YouTube and putting it in a Google slide doc. Now they can watch unfiltered YouTube. They can get around our stuff by putting a flash drive and booting it up in safe mode. Now we have kids that have a secondary Chromebook that's theirs that looks exactly like the Chromebook. Also now with AI searches, if the schools don't lock down their Gemini search, the kids will go onto Chromebook, do a search, it'll get filtered by the school filter, then they just click AI Gemini and it goes around a lot of the filtering. I do not like the Chromebooks at all, especially one-to-one in elementary and middle school. I would go, sophomore, okay, we can start issuing Chromebooks as a sophomore. They're just too dangerous and they're too addictive. And kids will do anything they can, even to play the stupid dinosaur game that they got to jump over the things when you don't have internet, right? They are completely addicted. And when you have an addictive device, it's not going to be good for your education, right? And by now, we've had Chromebooks, 5, 6, 7 years. We test on those Chromebooks every single year. Has anybody seen any data that says Chromebooks are helping kids? No, you don't see any data against it, which is super weird. We have all this data and no answers, right? So I don't think they're good at all. And there's no way to protect kids from, every week there's a new something that kids can get around. So in our board meetings, in our school, I try and go against Chromebooks every chance I get because I don't think they're safe. I hate to throw admin under the bus because there's state tests that have to be done on them. There's some reasons in super small schools, kids who are ahead or behind can use Chromebooks for good, but I just don't think they're worth the danger that they bring to kids. We'll go here and then
Your questions are great. I just want to add that my husband is a media specialist, teacher librarian down here, but he's done all the computer stuff since the beginning. He's been in education for 30 years, so he's seen the evolution of the one-to-one. And he's in a Waterloo school now, as is one of my sons there working too. And just a whole other issue. I mean, my husband has had kids print news on school printers, so when we think our kids are safe, they can always get around it, as you're saying. But the other issue that you're talking about, or that well, you have mentioned it, but like my one son who's in a classroom where kindergartners are on devices, screens, it is a full-time job to just keep those kindergartners doing what they're supposed to be doing of an appropriate app on the computer. He's constantly having to walk around the room and get the kids back onto the app they're supposed to do because they know where to go on the internet, and that's where they end up going. And so how teachers are even supposed to educate in this environment is crazy to me. So that's what I wanted to share is how hard it is. And then the other thing I wanted to ask is, of the different filtering and accountability software or programs that are out there, is there one that you recommend? Like we've used Covenant Eyes for, I don't know, a decade and a half now. But are there other ones that are better that you know of that work even more effectively?
Okay, so the question is about monitoring apps. What do I think is the best monitoring app? So let me explain to you how monitoring apps work. They weave themselves into the iPhone software and the Android software. And the problem is that every time Android or Apple does an update to their system, right, they go to 26.2.3, 26.2.4. Every time they do that, the monitoring software has to weave their way into the software again. And sometimes one software is quicker than the other. So then next year when it comes out, a different software comes out and they're quicker than the other. So it's always going up and down on which one is best. So I always recommend whichever one you as a parent can get comfortable with, stick with that one, right? We got really good at RPACT and we could do pretty good. Some people get good at the resident iPhone one. So whatever you're willing to get good at as a parent is going to be the one I would stick with, even though sometimes it's going to be better, sometimes it's going to be worse. It's ever changing because of them having to weave their way into the updates.
My other question was about Steam. I know a lot of kids, you can download on more of a desktop, download games and stuff with Steam. I haven't done much with that. I just know that's what my son.
So Steam, the application Steam is gaming. You have Steam, you have Discord, you can download a bunch of stuff. If they can download and you can unplug it and they can play, you're okay. The only game I know of that you can do that with is Minecraft. Minecraft, you can do the updates, you can download the game, you can go out to the desert and you can still play Minecraft. Anything that requires you to be online, and it's super easy check, unplug it, turn off the Wi-Fi, if they can still play it, that's okay. Anything else that connects in any way, shape, or form, no good. Does that answer that? Right, especially with Steam, you can download 1,000 games, and some of them are going to be online and some aren't. Yep. So unplug if you can still play it. Chess. Chess has a forum. As soon as you have a forum, boo. Right? Anything that you can't play unplugged, no bueno. All right, we're going to call it for now. I'm going to stay here for a little bit. Thank you guys all for coming. Make sure you thank everybody that brought me here, and I'll hopefully come back in a couple years.